You're now live.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Morning.
Welcome, everyone, to our FBS Chat with Paul Hanton, all the way from New Zealand, I believe, currently. And we're joined by Jonas, who's been with us before. Thank you, Jonas, for joining us again. And we should, hopefully, Tara Gretton will be joining us from the lovely city of Bath. So kind of all over the world today, which is fantastic. So, Paul, we haven't met before. I have read your wonderful book, which is sort of scrolling along the bottom of the screen there. Tell us a bit about how this journey came about for you in this solution-focused world.
Okay, so when I left uni, actually, I started at uni. When I was at uni, I was a welfare officer for Student Union back in 1990. And I was really involved in the kind of HIV campaign then, which, for those of us that weren't around then, it was huge. Hey, Tara.
Hey, Tara.
And as part of my role as in the Student Union, I went off and did some basic counselling courses and EGAN skilled helper and stuff like that. And when I left uni, I went and worked in Greenwich in an HIV service in Greenwich. And then I went and worked at the Angel Drug Project in Islington, which at the time was the busiest street drugs project in Europe. And as people probably don't remember, right back then, drug services were only just starting, really, as a response to HIV. We know and understand drug services now as being part of our everyday life, but they were new then. And we had a very transient population, mostly homeless, sex workers, people with HIV, people living with hepatitis and so on. And the Brief Therapy Centre, as Brief was then, in a little attic above a building in London, were just starting running courses. They've been running courses for a couple of years. And our clinical director at the time felt that because we saw people for a short period of time, it would be a good idea to do something that we could do with them in that time. Sometimes we only saw people once, sometimes twice. So we went off and did a 2-day training at the Brief Therapy Centre with Chris, Harvey, and Evan, and that was quite interesting. So I went with lots of questions, and got into a bit of an argument the first day with them all. And I remember it's funny because Harvey's always left out of the whole kind of briefing, really. It's Chris and Evan, but Harvey was there. And Harvey was such a social worker in his tweed jacket with his leather elbows.
Yeah, we know Harvey.
I remember the first discussion that I took umbrage with. They showed these great videos and it was brilliant. And they said, "We don't make any assumptions in the solution-focused work." And I said, "Oh, that's bollocks. Of course you do." And they said, "No, we don't." I said, "Well, you assume that people are there for something, don't you?" And they said, "Oh, no, we don't make any assumptions. People are just there." And we've changed it over years. But we kind of had that. And I went away with all these questions and I thought, I'm not so sure about all this solution-focused stuff, but I'll give it a go. And I found initially working with people, scaling I found very useful. That was probably how I started. And what I did was, after the first course, I made some little notes and I know what you call them, little cardboard note things. And I put them on the back of a clipboard because we all used to counsel with clipboards in them days. And I used to have a clipboard on my knee. And when scaling, and I put that one, I put it at the bottom, and exceptions, and I put that one at the bottom. And that's how I started. And I kind of suppose, I don't think people got a very good deal from me at that point, but I was learning and taking it on. And certainly for 2 years, I never used a miracle question. I used it once and it went pancake on me. And I thought, I'm not doing that again. But I actually asked a young man, and you wake up and how do you know that, this has happened? And he said, my granddad would still be alive. And I thought, well, I can't answer that. I don't know what to do. Of course, now it wouldn't bother me if he said that. But I thought, no, I'm not doing this. I'm working with people who are dying, whose families are dying, who are in real dire straits, and I can't do this miracle question thing. anyway, I ended up coming back to it a couple of years later. But after that first session, first 2 days were brief. Within about a year, I went and did another couple of days with them. And then I just picked it up on it, and I really liked it. It felt less intrusive. It felt less... I've always seen drug users, and that's where I worked, drug users and HIV as my people. I was a chronic drug user myself. And as a bisexual man living in London when HIV was around, I saw these things where I was more of a peer. We didn't talk about peers then, but I felt like I was a peer worker more than anything else. And so I didn't want to be up there. I wanted to be alongside people. And solution focus gave me that opportunity, really. I was particularly UK focused in my solution focus. I came along with a whole load of people at the same sort of time. And so I didn't get that kind of whole American gig. And I certainly didn't get the EBTA gig. And we'll talk about that maybe later. So that's how I started. And that was in 1993. I did my first course.
Wow.
So 27 years ago now.
Can I just jump in? And Tara, we were having this discussion before you joined, but in 1993 I would have been 13, and I'm just going to mute myself.
As we say in COVID, fuck off.
I still would have been 13.
Yeah. So when did you fully embrace the kind of whole process? Because I know you started with a bit of scaling, some exception. When did you decide I'm going to do the scaling, the exceptions, the miracle, and do a whole session like that?
Oh, when Aisha was about 15.
Yeah, 2 years later.
Yeah, it took me about 2 years. And I very quickly stopped using the word miracle and started calling it the wonderful question. And that was I was brought up as a Catholic, and that kind of the whole miracle thing I wasn't comfortable with. So I started calling it the wonderful question and brief and Chris liked that, and Bill O'Connell, who I'm going to talk about a little bit because Bill is a hero of mine. Bill O'Connell embraced the word wonderful as well, and so I started to have my own kind of preferences around how solution focus was for me, and I've always been very the whole descriptive side of it has always been my particular bent. Before many people were saying that, I was talking about this detailed description, really doing that work. I've never been a real philosopher or a real kind of Wittgensteinian or Foucault or anything like that. So I've always been about the practical side of it. And I think
Paul, so how did really interested to hear how that. Jumping in there. I'm just to say my Wi-Fi is dipping out a lot, so I'm sorry if I'm like frozen and funny looking faces. But it's just really interested to hear more about that wonderful question. So what that kind of looked like when you used wonderful instead of miracle.
So I wouldn't say a miracle happened. I'd just say you went to sleep and something wonderful happens, and this wonderful thing is that basically. You wake up and the problems you've got. Or the other thing I started to do quite early was I started to qualify the wonderful question. So I didn't have that. I mean, I remember a debate about it right back then. And DeShazer and so were saying you don't qualify it. You just say, a miracle happens and whatever comes out of that. And I felt that was a bit fairyland. So what I did was I'd say things like, so you woke up and your drug problem had started to go away, or you woke up and so I made it more specific. I felt that
definitely
was realer. And I remember having debates with people and they saying to me, no, but you don't qualify it. That's sure that's expert led. That's this, that's that. I didn't think it was because I felt somebody was coming to the situation.
Yeah. And it's fine if you're using their words. If you're inserting their hopes, then they're still the expert in the conversation.
I think so. And I just felt, I guess it was more specific for me. It was something I could work with in a more concrete way. I'm quite concrete, but I'm not very abstract. I'm not arty, I'm not abstract, I'm not any of those things.
Paul, I've got a question. Just listening to you now, and it really resonates with, we've had a lot of discussions recently, and you seem to have this critical side to you, which I really love, which is kind of unusual in the solution focused world, to be critical, like you're going against Harvey, on the first day almost, and now you're changing the words and doing things on your own, and having these debates, and that was what introduced me to you. This is this guy from New Zealand doing these, asking strange questions and being a bit of a, what could we be doing better, and looking at ourselves and from a critical point of view. Where does that come from, and where's the passion for the critical nature of your approach to solution? Where does that come from, and maybe why do you do it? I just find that fascinating.
That's a big ask. I mean, look, I started a book with Elliot and Raya and Adam called Heresy and Misconduct in the Solution Focused World, and it didn't get published. We decided not to publish, so I did a YouTube channel on it. I don't mean to be critical. It's not an end in itself.
I think critical is a good thing, by the way.
I just saying I don't set out to be critical. It's just how it is.
Right.
So I work in a therapeutic community that's which has its own sort of model. And one of the things about therapeutic communities is this idea of rational authority. So not authority for authority's sake, but authority that can be questioned, and that the things we do have rationale, and people can ask us. And I grew up probably without much rationale. I grew up being told, this is what you do, this is when you do it. I just seen the Facebook use, that's nice. And I was a bit of a troublemaker as a kid. I was very much bullied and didn't have a great experience of childhood. And then I joined the army, and then after the army I went to prison. So I've always had this situation where people have told me what to do. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like telling other people what to do. I think if I, as a manager, as a leader, I think that I should be able to explain everything I do and why I do it, and have people question and be questioning. And when it came to solution focus, I just saw some things that I felt were a little bit staid. So, when the EBTA protocol first came out and said you can't do research unless you do it like this, I'm like, says who? And when somebody says, if you don't know Wittgenstein, you don't know solution focus, I was like, yeah, whatever. I just don't like that side of it. I've seen people doing solution focus without knowing it's solution focus, and I've seen some really, really well-known solution focus practitioners doing what I would call solution forced work. So I just think that it's if you do things without questioning, you might as well just roll over.
And Paul, sort of taking that sort of approach, what difference do you think that's made to your practice, and how do the people that you work with benefit from that?
I think it makes me not be static. I think it makes me question what I do and why I'm doing it, and it leads me always to being alongside rather than in front of somebody.
Yeah. I love that, being alongside.
Wow.
Yeah. Even in the book that you write about a client sort of all the way through it, and it's got this nice sort of beginning and end, but you kind of you're critical of yourself, which is, I mean, and me and Aisha always say we learn from every single client. We're definitely not the expert in that sense. And it was really refreshing to see that you're saying, I asked a question and it just didn't work.
And that's the same at work now. You know, I made a big muck up at work yesterday, actually, with one of our residents. And, you know, I went into a community. So we've got 14 people sat there. And I said, look, you know, I made this mistake. You know, I'm sorry about this. And as a result of that, you know, this is what you can do. You know, so it was actually somebody's end date. You know, people are in our house for, you know, months at a time. And I got the week wrong where somebody was going to finish. And he thought he was going to finish this week. And in fact, he finishes in 2 weeks. So I said, look, I wrote that on our board wrong. And you can finish this week if you want to. And it might be beneficial for you to stay longer. But, you know, I own that. I made that mistake. We work with people. I've always worked with people at disadvantage. I've always worked with people that are stigmatized. And people go through life being told this is how it is, and you can't challenge the system, and you can't break it, and you can't, you know, do anything outside of it. And what we do in our place now is we try and lead people to understand that actually their lives can be different, and they do have a right to challenge, and they do have a right to question, and they do have a right to self-autonomy. And solution focus is the most self-autonomous therapy that I know of. Even more so than person-centered. Person-centered is self-autonomous, but it kind of, for me, doesn't have any necessary direction. Whereas I think solution focus has direction from the start by best hopes, you know, preferred future type questions.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. And in my work in schools, you know, Aisha and Joe, you know, with young people, inviting them to know that they are allowed to ask questions. You know, so much is done to them, and quite often they don't know any different.
Well, I've worked in young people services most of my career, actually. So I've run 3 or 4 young people's drug services, you know, in Barnsley, in Wakefield, in Islington. So you know, young people, drugs, all of that stuff. I do think that, you know, people end up where they need to be, you know, and I've ended up doing the sort of work I need to do. I'm not that interested in being a big name. I'm not that interested in doing loads of keynotes. I'm you know, I like what I do. I've got the best job in the world. So, you know.
I wonder what that difference that makes. I mean, you and I are similar in that way because we are not consultants. We're not selling, you know, services. We're just doing work with people in a statutory environment.
I tried it. I worked for myself for 6 years. I found it very difficult.
So what difference does it make? I mean, I've got some answers to that, but I want to hear yours. So working in the field, I mean, working long term in your area, what difference does that make when adopting and using a solution focused approach?
Well, it's interesting because in my job, solution focus is just part of it. We work in a way called community as method. So our community heals itself. But what will happen is solution focus comes in a much more informal way. So we don't have very many one-to-one therapy sessions. So, you know, somebody might say in a group setting, you know, oh, you know, I just want to stop using drugs and I want my life to be better. And I say, oh, well, so if it was better, you know, what difference would that make? You know, what does it look like better? So I would be throwing in solution focused kind of questions or techniques or thoughts within a generic system. And what difference it makes to me is, I don't want to get too deep really, but I have this real passion. I've felt in my life, and you know, some people may, you know, other people in my life may not agree, but I felt very disadvantaged at times in my life. I felt hopeless in times of my life, and you know, when I was young, I made a couple of serious attempts on my life and stuff like that. And I'm glad I'm where I am now, and I feel that you know, I need to earn a living. I need to enjoy my life. But I also can do that in a way where I'm helping other people. So why wouldn't I? You know, I don't see any point in doing that. You know, I don't care how many books I write or how many accolades I get. What I care is that somebody walking down the road forgets that I had an input in my life and is actually doing really well and can get somewhere. You know.
I love that. And I mean, Paul, we've never met, you know. I think this is the first time that we've kind of had a conversation. And one of the things that I noticed so much about you from sort of being connected when we first connected on social media was your generosity. And actually, you know, I feel like I know you because you've interacted and encouraged me and even looked at my website and kind of gave me some pointers on it, and so generous. And yeah, so that sort of really resonates. I feel like I know you, you know, because
I'm not very comfortable with praise. I'm not very comfortable with praise.
Take it.
Well, I have to second what Tara's saying, actually, because I feel like I know you, but I don't know you. And it is honestly, yeah. Every time I've posted something, you're one of the first ones, and you, Jonas. Don't worry, Jonas. You're there too. But it's not about you. This is about Paul. But honestly, Paul, you're amazing, and you're a Batman fan, and you're a Tottenham fan. So
Yeah.
you know.
Look, I don't see myself as generous. I just see myself as being supportive, and you know, I've got a very, very simple philosophy, and I've talked about this with Jonas. I think I try to be the manager I'd like to have. I try to be the dad I'd like to have. I try to be the friend I'd like to have, and that's a very simple philosophy. And you know, that being said, my wife calls me a Marmite man. So. There was an advertising campaign in UK a few years ago about Marmite, and either you love it or you hate it. And I can get up people's noses. I'm aware of that. Not everybody likes me and likes my style, but you know what? I don't give a shit. I really don't.
Well, I really like Marmite, actually. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
No, you know, there's this thing about being your authentic self, and not everybody's going to like that. I can state absolutely 100%, but I never go out of my way to cause anybody any problems. That being said, I'm not going to sit back where I see injustice, where I see hypocrisy, and that's lost me friends and contacts and colleagues, and I'm never going to be that big name, because actually sometimes you have to suck it up, and I'm not prepared to suck it up.
So do you?
Yeah, go on.
Go on, Jonas.
No, I just love that. I think there's a punk attitude to solutions focused work, and then you embody it completely. I think we'll be all writing about. I mean, in 50 years' time, people have forgotten about Steve Deshays, and people like Paul Hanton used to say. There's something punkish, I think, in the solutions focused approach. We really believe everybody's right to be whoever they are.
I love that.
And their authentic self. And if we can't embody that ourselves, and that makes us, then we have a problem, I think. So I think you're onto something.
We've discussed this, Jonas. You know, I see. Marmite, is that a British thing available in New Zealand? Okay, so let me just answer that question. So Marmite was invented by England. Okay, in New Zealand they got a patent on it, so they call it Marmite here, but it hasn't really Marmite. It's some slight difference. So here we have to call it My Mate instead of Marmite. So you get the same jars with a different name, but anyway, so that's My Mate.
And then Vegemite, obviously, in Australia. I don't like Vegemite. Yeah.
So this thing, you know, I don't want to get really, you know, sort of heavy about this, but I despise hypocrisy. If I do something and say something and I contradict myself, then I need to own that shit, and I will own that shit. And I do make mistakes, and I do. You know, I don't always reach my own standards, my own moral compass, and I think I've got an obligation when I don't to acknowledge that. I see some, you know, I left the SF list recently, and I left the SF list because it was toxic, and I'm not going to name any people in particular, but I had somebody completely ridicule me for mental health issues. And I was incredibly upset by it, actually, more so than people realized. You know, there's family mental health issues as well. And somebody really took the piss out of that, and was quite nasty. And the response from maybe half the people on there was to get over it, Paul, stop being so sensitive and all this stuff. And that's the same response as people get in Black Lives Matter. It's the same response as people get in disability. And I'm not prepared to do that. And if you think I'm a woke warrior, if you think I'm social justice left or whatever, I don't give a flying shit, to be honest with you. I will not put up with that sort of stuff. And so when somebody says they're solution focused and they're taking part in that stuff, they're not solution focused. They might be using solution focused questions, but they are not solution focused, because for me, solution focused therapy and practice is a leveling set of techniques. So it's a leveling modality, and you cannot sit and on social media and say that you're against gay marriage and then say I'm solution focused. Because if the next person who walks in your room says my best hopes are to be married with my partner in a world that accepts us, and you say, oh yes, and how will that look different? And you're thinking all the time, you know what, you're wrong, this is immoral, then fuck you, you're not solution focused. Sorry.
Yeah. And I think that's why we need to revisit the assumptions so much more. You know, we really need to remind people of what truly underpins the solution focused approach. You know, and coming from a social work background, and those being the values and ethics of social work, that's what kind of led me into solution focused, because I felt that it really resonated with my with my social work values. So I think it's really important that we kind of revisit and remind people what the assumptions are of SF. But yeah,
totally,
I'm just going to
totally agree with you, Tara. As I say, I come from a kind of drug work, HIV background, and you can't hold values that are opposed to equality and call yourself solution focused. You can't, and there's people out there, big names out there that do that, and I'm not prepared to be part of that shit. And if it means that I'm not part of the solution focused community, if it means that I'm not going to be welcome in certain associations, so what? Don't need them.
I think what's exciting as well is that more people speaking out and sort of professionals and adults modelling this is, the conversations that I have with young people, particularly around the times, around Black Lives Matter, they're really thinking about, how do I speak up? How do I raise my head? How do I do it in a really useful and constructive way? So I think in that sense, we need to be modelling it, and we need to be showing young, that it's okay to talk, to speak up and stick up for people.
Absolutely, but then and as I say, if you're on a list that's supposed to be all these like-minded individuals, and you're ridiculed and you're marginalised for speaking out, then that tells me there's something wrong in that kind of community. Not everybody. There's some real people supported and some real people spoke out and stuff, but actually. I'm pretty upfront, and I'm pretty, I've been through quite a lot of stuff in my life, but I didn't feel psychologically safe to be on that list anymore. And that says to me and I'm quite out there. So there's lots of other people who are less out there than me, but probably felt unsafe, and that's not okay.
I think there's a shift happening in the solutions focused world, just the last couple of years. And it's really come up to a head this year, really, after George Floyd's tragic murder. And this thing happening on the list is only one symptom of this change that's happening. There's also, the journal, how they're changing their appearance and their, how they model themselves. We have the upcoming SFBTA conference, which is very big on diversity and making that very clear. Now, it's taken a while, but there's a lot happening, and that's really good.
It really is.
And I think you have been part of that movement and that change. I mean, you have the collective, and there's lots of other things going on. People are much more clear and connecting solution focus to social injustice, morality, really, and authenticity, and really owning the work in a social context.
And some of that's about younger people coming into this profession, to be fair.
It is.
And I welcome that.
Like Aisha, yes.
Yes. And actually, I think there is a generational gap.
No, not me, sadly.
Well, I actually, the fun thing was, Joe and I had just signed up to that list.
Oh yeah.
And then it went up. Do you remember, Tara? I remember
I
saying
was
to
so
Tara, like,
upset.
what the hell's going on? And we were like, what's going on? We just signed up, enthusiastic. Yeah, come on. And then all of a sudden,
Sorry.
what's going on? It's like mummy and daddy are fighting. I can't deal with this.
No, I agree, but there is this, and I'm part of it. I can't deny my whiteness, I can't deny my age, and I can't deny my gender. And actually, white 50+ men have controlled solution focus for a long time, and it's almost hypocrisy for any white 50+ man to even question that. But it's got to change.
Yeah.
Elliot was a big part of that. Elliot was a huge part of that, coming along and challenging the status quo. There's people like Kirsten Deerhoff, who's done some fantastic work in the vote still, who was kind of just bypassed for being a woman. And it's okay.
Yeah, I think we could start rewriting the history of solutions focus as well, because I think the story that's come from solutions focus, it's from the 90s, and where they build their own identity, and then they kind of nurture what Steve and Insoo said, and it's done in a way that perverts really the creativity of the approach, and how they work together with their clients, and how they learned with their clients, and how they actually took a social injustice position already in the early 80s and the late 70s. Why did they even do what they did? Well, because they didn't think what was going on was right.
Exactly.
They wanted their clients to be more respected, and they wanted to be more make a better contribution to practice. And that was and that's also a story of solutions focus which we haven't really heard. And there are other stories in there as well. I mean,
well, there's a reason why we call it his
story.
Go
on. It's your thing. You should go.
There's a reason why we call it history. His story. And that's the reality of it. And for many years I was very uncomfortable with people who said, "Oh well, Steve said this or Insoo said this." I don't know if Steve or Insoo said that, but I know that actually by saying that and saying I was at lunch once with Steve 56 years ago, and he said to me blah blah blah. That gives you some sort of divine right to then pontificate on what solution focus is. No, it's not. Every therapeutic approach becomes better by the inclusion of the voices that weren't there originally.
Yeah. I mean,
sorry, I'm asking my 5-year-old to be quiet while I read this. So Mark is asking, so is SF different from other approaches? I meant concerning diversity.
Right. Okay. So in March next year, we are having a solution focused conference in New Zealand. It's our 6th conference, and it's called Inclusivity and Diversity in the Solution Focused World. And I don't know where this quote came from, but somebody actually said once that solution focus is the most kind of diverse therapy, and it's the most inclusive. I don't know about that as a claim. What I would say is this: if you start from a position of everything that happens in our interaction is your agenda, is your best practice, is your preferred future, then that in itself is inclusive. If you acknowledge that the people you're working with can have hope, can have determination and the locus of control, regardless of the world they live in, then that's inclusive.
Yeah.
Joe, do you want to jump in?
I was
sorry,
just
my
saying,
daughter's trying to feed me sweet corn.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd like, if I may, I think we have a real problem in solutions focus. Most of our conferences are extremely white. We have lots of people from other cultures, parts of the world, who just don't get invited to things, who are never cited. And I think we have a problem with diversity. I think we could be learning from other approaches.
I mean, I think
a lot more than what we do. I mean, and we kind of put ourselves in this bubble where we kind of think that we are the best, and we have the most cherished approach, and we know exactly how to deal with all this because we are so loving. Our clients are the best clients.
But I think
that's bollocks, really, because we could be learning from how.
Guys, sorry,
go on.
Sorry, sorry, very quickly. Joe, do you need to go?
Yeah, I do. I've got something to just come up, but
you go.
it's
You
brilliant.
go.
I'll see you later.
Okay.
See
Bye.
you later.
Bye.
Oh, Jonas.
Where's Jonas gone?
Sorry,
No,
Jonas.
I'm here. I didn't go anywhere. I was
I've
right
got
here.
the power. I can take you out, put you in. Sorry, carry on.
Thank you for bringing me back. The powers of the internet.
But I was just going to
Let's
say,
go on. You go on, Tara. You couldn't stop yourself. There you go.
well, sorry. So I was just, kind of listening to both your comments there, and as Paul was describing in terms of our practice, it being every ounce of my being is. I hope is about being inclusive and about in my practice, and it just saddens me really that, and we do need to change, but it's like we're spending a lot of energy, having to work with this issue within the solution focused community that isn't visible, So I'm really excited and pleased that there are things like the SFPTA conference, and the SF24 conference was, welcoming a global community and noticing what's happening in Asia, and just like, whoa. So, I think these things that are happening are exciting, and that change needs to happen, because I think we need that as well as being that in our practice, I
think that's a really good differentiation, Tara. I think our practice is inclusive. I think our macro world in solution focus is not inclusive. It's becoming something it's not. I don't belong to any association anymore. I just don't. And the reason is I actually don't feel I feel very exclusive. I feel that as a white 50+ male, being part of an association, whenever I get involved in something, I get really involved in something, and I don't want to be that face. I don't want to be the person out there fronting stuff. I'm not interested. A few years ago, before the collective, Solution Focus Collective started, I set up an Aotearoa New Zealand collective website. And trying to push that agenda. I think we can do things but not necessarily visible. I'm a little bit it's back to the critical stuff, Jonas. I'm a little bit critical of people making big statements about how inclusive they're going to be. I think you can do things without doing that. So, for instance, our conference, we've always had it as a not-for-profit, low-cost conference. We Māori people in New Zealand are much more poor generally than Pākehā white people, and so you have a low-cost conference, which says you actually then encourage people who don't have a lot of disposable income to come to that conference. You make a statement on your website saying that we really welcome abstracts from first-time presenters, but Māori people from rainbow community. You can do things without making a big hoo-ha about it. You can, and I think here's where I lose more friends. I think some of the latest things that are happening in the solution focused world, overdue, overstated, and kind of a little bit look how good we are now.
We've got a lot of work to do.
Not good enough. More to do.
Yeah. Elliot, I can't speak for Elliot, but I can say that Elliot felt quite excluded by the SFPTA for many years, and now they're making big kind of moves towards being inclusive. I can say that on the list there were people making very, very positive comments supporting Elliot and other people, when they'd in the background in the past made very negative and disparaging comments about them. So you know what? I'm all for change. People can change. I recognise that. I made loads of changes myself.
I think there's a different story too. I mean, we can talk about our conferences and our journals and our associations and all that bit, but I think there's also, working in our local community and dealing with diversity, and seeing the injustices and offering to be a part of something else. There's something about that needs to be said too. I mean, how can we be more active where we live in our communities or in our world, and just see the connections and not put ourselves in that bubble where we just say, no, I'm just working with you and working with your best hopes, and that's it. I think we need to put ourselves in a bigger picture, community-wise at least, and say, look, can we offer something? Can we do something here to make this world just a little bit better? And I think we do that regardless if we do something or not. That choice is always there. Yeah, can't deny it.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's really important to just scream out loud. It's for everyone, for all human beings, and not say, oh, you're a black guy, come in, we need more. We need to show your face, and because then actually that's being racist by trying not to be racist, if you know what I mean. And but then absolutely, but then when you try and do something a little bit more, again, this is going to sound terrible, and we hope no one's watching. You can try and include as many people as you possibly want. And Jonas and Tara are witness to this. When we did the sing along, and we can't reveal too much, guys, as you know, but I did actually go out of my way to make it as diverse as possible. But we weren't successful, were we?
No.
Yeah.
But do you see what I mean? So I think as long as us as human beings have an open forum and make sure that everyone gets an invite, and it's not about counting how many people from Singapore, how many people from Africa. It's just literally, if you're a human being, you are invited without having any other agenda. That's all we can do.
Yeah. I always revert it back to young people because I work with young people, but young people taking the lead and what I've been working with some young people recently is they're actually genuinely visible. They're genuinely having a say, because for years within social services, it's like invite people along and it's tokenistic. It's not actually, are you genuinely hearing or interested in hearing what people want to say and genuinely wanting to include people for the right reasons? And I think community is the best place, James.
So I work in a therapeutic community, so we're always short-staffed, we're always trying to employ new people. It's a very difficult job. One of the things I do, which nobody's done in our place before, is when we interview people, it starts with being with a resident. Okay, so the residents of a current community will ask questions of a candidate. They will sit in there, and sometimes it's a baptism of fire for the candidates. But you know what? If you can't put yourself in that position where you're willing to be open to that, then you have no place in my workplace. It's simple as that. We opened a transition house for people who are leaving our community, but then going off into the world in a new way, because they're stigmatized. Drug users stigmatized in the community. They've often have criminal histories, and this is where my passion comes from in this, really, because it's me too. They have criminal histories. They can't be successful in life again unless somebody accepts them. So one of the things we've done is we've opened a transition house where people can stay for 6 months independently, still connected to us. And that means they have the opportunity to bridge that gap. Now we're making a huge loss. I have to justify it to my board every month. We're making a huge loss because we don't have enough residents in there to pay it. But I'm quite prepared to write that off, because I think it's what we're doing is more important than balancing the books. Sometimes we can afford it, so we'll do it. And those are the sort of things that I think Jonas is talking about. These are the things that nobody needs to know about. In your own heart, you're doing something right. When somebody phones up and says, I don't know, I can't get into the aftercare group today because I haven't got any money, and I say, I'll pick you up. Those are the sort of little things that actually make a difference. And as solution-focused practitioners, and somebody running a conference or whatever, if somebody can't afford to come, we need to make that happen. We need to look for reasons to include people, not reasons to exclude them.
Yes.
Go on, Aisha.
You can talk, Aisha.
No, I was going to say, we run a charity, we work with many people, and You know, we want to come to New Zealand. Just saying, just putting it out there.
She told me
That was
she wants to come to New Zealand.
Nobody can get into New Zealand.
I was going to say, nobody can get. It won't be for a while.
The thing is, I'm going to need Tara and Jonas with me as well.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I just want to say this: we've just elected a left-leaning government with the queerest parliament that we've ever had in the world. You know, we've got the Greens taking over Auckland Central, while the world will lurches to the right. We've eased further to the left, and go Jacinda.
Oh, yes, love. Can you tell her that I love her? I want to be her friend.
Great idea. Can I take that idea, Paul? Could be great for community Muslim. I don't have any ideas that are mine. Just take what you want, whoever it is. Do what you like.
It's Mark. It's our Mark. Mark's always looking for top tips and ideas of how we can support his community to get together, promote diversity, equality, and he's one of the most hardworking men I know. Really, he's always on the ball, and he watches FBS Chat all the time, and is always asking questions and trying to develop himself. I think is brilliant. But yeah,
I don't copyright me. I don't hold my stuff. You know, anybody can have my stuff.
No, I as Tara and both Tara and Jonas know, I always say I'm an honest thief. I'm going to tell you I'm taking it, and then I'm going to use it, but I will put your name to it.
It's all good.
But
if you go on ResearchGate, I've got all not all, but many of my presentations and stuff like that are on ResearchGate, and people can just use them. I don't care. It's fine.
Yeah, I'll write that down.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we've got 10 minutes, so go for it for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Right.
Paul, I'm really interested to hear more about what you're up to in your current role, and if you've got any other projects that you're working on. What exciting things have you got brewing there in New Zealand?
Okay. So my current role is I'm CEO of St Mark's Therapeutic Community. It's a 20-bed residential setting for I don't want to make it sound too dramatic, but the highest end of drug and alcohol use in this country. So people come to us, or they're in prison or they die. You know, we take people with quite serious problems. We run as a community as method type approach. So we're seen as community members, and very much we're hands off, and we just help direct and guide. We've got an aftercare house, which I told you about, which I'm really excited about. We just set up a mentor scheme. So we've got our first 2 mentors. So people have graduated a program that are now staying on as mentors and supporting the rest of the community. So one of the things we do, which again I think is challenging stigma and stuff. One of our mentors at the moment, we've managed to get the courts to put off a sentencing date, so that he can do good work in our community, and hopefully that will be a benefit when he goes up to court eventually. I'm part of a conference organising group. We're in our 6th New Zealand Aotearoa conference. You know, and that includes Rob Silver, Wanda Douglas, Kate Walton. We started that up about 6 years ago, funny enough, and that was in direct response to trying to build a solution focused New Zealand, really. I've got some I can't really announce yet, but I can say that I've actually got
It's just us.
You don't want to know that? We won't tell anybody.
It's a very big project.
Yeah,
I've been asked to be involved in training a very big NGO across the country over a period of 2 years, which is actually logistically we haven't sorted it out, but it actually means that nearly all my annual leave for the next 2 years will be taken up training. But it's actually, for this country, it's going to be very big if it comes off.
Well, we are here to help you, Paul.
We can come over and help you.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, Jonas, get your passport ready, because I know yours is running out, expiring.
Yeah.
Tara, I'll pick you up on the way.
Yeah.
Open your front door in 14 hours.
We'll be there.
Yeah, so hopefully we will open the borders again soon. But you know, we've done what we need to do it. you know, I tend to get involved with things. And my wife was just saying to me this morning, Sue, she was saying, you know, how do you do everything? And I'm an active relaxer. I like to be busy. Sometimes I need to balance that with a bite off more than I can chew. And that's happened a few times. I don't have any personal things in terms of SF, but you know, I don't want to write any more books or anything like that particular. I do a lot of coaching in badminton, and I'm using more and more a solution focused approach to the coaching, and I'm involved at a reasonably high level in that coaching in this country.
Hold on, quick question. So is it, what difference would it make if you actually won this round?
Sometimes it's more in the coaching, not in games. That's more in you know, when somebody's trying a technique, and you know, so how do you know when you've got that right? You know, what will you notice, stuff like that. But I also say things like, you know, how would your opponents notice that, you know, you're at the top of your game? You know, what would those sort of things. And yeah, so you know, there's that side of it. I've recently got a dog, which
I was just about to ask about the dog. I was going to ask whether we were going to get to meet the dog.
She's fantastic. I'll ask her. Cookie, Cookie.
Is it Cookie?
Hey, Cookie, yeah.
They want to meet Cookie. Go on, Cookie. So she's absolutely right. She's yeah, a bit reducing a bit of stimulation. She's ground rescue. Come on.
Hey, hello, Cookie.
So she's from a grounds rescue. So she never raced because she was too belligerent to race.
I want to see. I missed her. I was writing FBS Chat with Paul Hanton.
Cookie.
Oh, hello. Oh.
There we go.
Oh, look at the start. Finally, we get to meet somebody important.
It was worth the wait.
It's actually very solution focused. So, you know, what's going to work? What difference would it make if we did this? And you know, she's a cow sometimes, but she's lovely.
Oh wow!
So she means quite a lot to me. Yeah, so she's my active relaxation. You know, we've got a local beach that is full of pebbles, and at low tide is a big strip of sand. And what greyhounds need to do is to run. And so I take her over the beach, and she's so excited, and then off she goes. And you know, it's good. No, it's very good. So yeah, so I do. Again, not getting too philosophical, but I know I'm aware of my age, and I'm aware of, you know, I want to pack everything in. I want to go out. I want to go out kicking and screaming, and you know, not
punk rocker you.
Maybe. I was never a punk. I was more of a mod and a kind of what I call a scooter skin. So
I can imagine you being a mod.
Yeah. The jam and flash.
I'm gonna read some messages that. So we have a FBS team WhatsApp group, and they're gonna kill me for reading this out. And this is some of the messages. Talia, be quiet, please. Tara, how'd you get a 5-year-old to be quiet? I'm not asking you that because you're female. I'm asking you because you work in schools.
Give her sweets.
Sweets.
Give her a sweet. So I'm gonna read out some of the messages.
I just like to say I don't give out sweets at school.
No, fine. Right. So message number 1. I like this Paul Hanton fella. He's wicked. He's Jonas English. Oh look, it's Tara. Hello, Tara. I like Paul's no nonsense. Oh no, too much pressure. And he's working Islington. He's my guy. I take it all back. He's a Spurs fan because he's an Arsenal fan. That man is awesome. Jason, are you listening? Yeah, I'm listening. I think he's awesome. Like Matt said, very straight talking. Hold on. Sorry, Jonas. What was that? So you must have asked something. Is Joe okay? He suddenly left. ResearchGate? Seriously, these conversations are going on and on and on and on and on.
ResearchGate is an open forum for people to publish and put their research and articles, presentations, books, whatever on. It's again, let's talk about access. Some of the books that Solution Focus people write, some of the research, some of the stuff is almost guarded. Like, if you want to give me money, if you want to be in my club, you can see it. Put it on an open access forum. That's exclusive.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah.
Okay, 5 minutes, I guess.
You've got 5 minutes to go, and we want to know what's next.
Yes.
For me?
Yeah.
Look, I've never.
I know you've got this secret thing going on, but other than
I've
that,
never worked in a job for more than 5 years. I'm a gypsy. My partner and I have been together 21 years. We've had 12 houses. I don't settle very well. And I can see me working in this job till I finish my career, which is 7 years' time. I don't know what's next, and I think that's something that keeps me a little bit fresh. I don't make long-term plans. I don't know. Look, and let's not kind of end on a bummer. I spent my childhood being quite a scared child. I spent my teenage and youth years being an angry young man, and I'm quite a content older man, and that's okay for me. I still have dark places in my head, and I find that the more I do, the less those dark places can invade me. So I'll just keep doing what I do. I don't know, I don't know what's next for me. I've thought seriously. I've been playing and coaching badminton for a long time, and as I say, this year's the first year without an operation for a while, and I've seriously thought that my body's kind of not up to what I'm trying to make it do anymore. So I don't know, maybe a new sport, maybe something different. I don't know. I love music. Jonas and I trade music every day. Every morning I wake up, there's a new song from Jonas, and every evening when I go to bed, I put a new song on to Jonas. We have this shared Spotify list, and I collect vinyl, and I just right now life's good. I desperately want to come back to Europe to see my sons, and I miss them dreadfully. I've got this idea of when we retire. Sue and I have talked about it. When we retire, we're going to either build a house, or we're going to sell up and travel, or we're going to spend 6 months in Europe and 6 months in New Zealand. So I don't like winter. I like warmth. I don't know. I'm a 58-year-old fat diabetic, and I'll just see where world takes me, really.
I like it.
What's this question about strength, base, and SF? Okay, I don't know who wrote that. Okay,
I think it's Mark. I need to have a quick look, but I think it's Mark.
So I've put an article about that on LinkedIn a few years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago. I think Solution Focus acknowledges and amplifies strengths. I think if you start looking for strengths, it becomes your agenda. I think I don't believe it's a strength-based approach, although I think it acknowledges strengths. I think the traditional strength-based approaches are a little bit cultish. Always be positive, always look for strengths, when actually sometimes your life's falling apart. And I think, sometimes, I'm not too disappointed when people say it's strength-based, but I don't think it is strength-based. I think we acknowledge and amplify strengths when they come up. I hope that answers that question.
Love it.
That was a great answer.
Yeah, really good answer.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And we have come to the end, guys.
I've really enjoyed it, by the way.
Oh, I've really enjoyed it. It's gone so quickly.
I know.
We've got to have a follow-up.
Yeah, we're gonna have a follow-up.
No.
We're gonna have you guys back to Tara and I are gonna be like Tara and I can tell you guys how good or rubbish you are. We're gonna have Guy, Shannon, and Matt join as well, so we can have a FBS chat with SF and music.
Cool. Guy and I go back a long way too. So Guy and I actually were on the first Solution Focus Masters course in the world, as far as I'm aware. And Guy and I were the first two that passed. We could probably tell a few stories about a few evenings that we spent together, Guy and I. But I'll let you
I look forward to that.
Well, we want to hear about that. Yeah, and I so watch out for an email from me with some dates on there. And we'll be having some guys on to talk about SF24, 2020 and 2021. So, it's we've got a lot of things coming up, but definitely you guys, this has been absolutely amazing. So any last words from the three of you?
Just thank you from me. I mean, I've enjoyed it. It's
thank you. Yeah,
it's been great fun. I'm off to go to work in a minute, and I've got a big long day ahead, and that's great. I don't mind. I like the energy here. It's fantastic. Thank you so much, Aisha.
It was lovely. Thank you for hosting this, Aisha.
Really lovely. Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Guys, I did nothing.
Yeah,
I just
really enjoyed it.
Pretend to do admin in the background. As Joe says. But if you guys could just wait there for a minute, as Jonas and Tara knows, this is where we say goodbye privately. But for anyone else, we will see you very soon with another FBS chat. And my calendar's not open, so I can't tell you who that was, but you'll find out. Oh no, it's David Haynes. David Haynes on Thursday at 12 p.m. UK time, and I've got to keep remembering to say UK time. So Thursday, 12 p.m. UK time. Guys, remind me about that because I'll probably forget in 5 minutes. So see you guys soon. Take care. But you guys stay there.